Hi, I'm Courtney Thomas, and today I want to talk about something that we all have, but sometimes forget to use. And I think maybe you thought that I was going to say time, but that's not it. It's resources. So, like I said, this is something that we all have, right? And that could be in a lot of different departments. And what I'm really talking about here is the places where you're feeling challenged, like you feel like maybe you need to shore up a little bit, like you need help, want some direction, need answers, any of these categories, right? Which is what I'm typically dealing with, right? Like I'm a Conquer the World coach for women who want to know what the hell they're doing. So that whole like, I need to know what the hell I'm doing part, this is where all of your resources come in, and your kind of untapped resources, forgotten resources, maybe even avoided resources. So I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and this really reminded me of it. It's certainly something that I have been guilty of in the past. I think about it a lot of times in terms of professional development. You know, I purchase books and courses and online webinars and all of these different kinds of things frequently. And a lot of times, you know what happens? They hang out in my email forever. And I either don't watch, don't read, the book sits on a shelf, I start it, maybe don't finish it. There are tons of resources that I then forget about. They get kind of buried, right? And then when I come to a certain crossroads, or I'm looking to increase a skill or shore up a talent, or, you know, just get some new information, I forget like, hey, I actually was looking for this some time ago and I have this available. So why don't I just do that? Because it's not always about a new resource. It is sometimes only about using what you have. That's an important thing to remember. I'm probably going to say that a few more times in the next few minutes, because, you know, where do you have this in your life? What resources do you already have available that you don't use? Really think about that for a second. Again, when it comes to professional development, absolutely. I think this happens a lot. And that could even be stuff like, do you have a coworker, a mentor, maybe like an alumni from a school that you went to, a group, a club, stuff even like LinkedIn. That's a resource. Are you using it? You know, there are lots and lots of resources in our lives that we might not be utilizing to the best of their capabilities, right? So what already exists in your life that you have that you aren't using? Personally, same thing. Like, do you have friends, family, other groups, social things, whatever it may be, that you've been afraid to utilize, that you're not asking for what you need? You know, do you have a spouse that you forget to ask to be your partner? And, you know, when you need it, that's an important point. The people who are closest to us in our lives sometimes are the resources that we fail to use the most. And, you know, there are a lot of reasons for that. That's kind of a story for another day. But, you know, what are the resources you have available? Thinking about health and wellness type of things. What resources do you have? Do you already have a bunch of training programs? Have you bought books? Do you have, I don't know, coupons for meal services that you keep talking about you're going to use, but you haven't used yet? Do you have those people in your life who actually are professionals and who have offered their services as resources for you that you're not using, that you don't ask for, you don't take them up on it? All kinds of this stuff, right? Like, no matter what life bucket you're working with, it's highly likely that you have far more resources than you think that you've either forgotten about, again, like I tend to do, or, you know, again, you're just not utilizing to the best of, you know, the abilities, theirs and yours at this time. So what can you use? And this is kind of a two-part thing. Just like I said, what do you have available? What's the challenge right now that you feel like you need more resources for? Because this is kind of a common thing, right? We're like, I'm having this struggle. Let me get some new information. Where I'm going with this is that we don't always necessarily need new or different information. Sometimes we have really good stuff that we, again, have forgotten about, let fall by the wayside, get buried in our email inbox or the bookshelf, or, just haven't reached out to that person in a long time, might be a little afraid to do so, afraid of that ask, whatever it may be. But what do you already have available? Because it's not always about adding something new into the mix. A lot of times you have really, really, really good resources already available. So then what's the best match for whatever your challenge or struggle is right now? How can you better utilize what you already have? Because sometimes it's about just recognizing that, reflecting for a second, and making another, reconnecting, making the connection all over again. Like I said, I had a conversation with a friend about this recently, and really what she came up with was okay, I'm not doing this, I'm struggling with this, but really what it comes down to is I have the resources, I'm just not using them. That's something that I find is rather common. Again, have been guilty of it myself in the past. You might be thinking of some instances where this has happened for you. And I invite you to think about that. Again, because we all have things that are going on, or, things we want to work on, or whatever it is. What resources do you already have available that you might not be using right now? I have the resources. I just have to use them. Right? Where do you have that going on in your life, and how can you make that happen? It's not always about new stuff. It's not always about seeking out other resources. What do you have? What can you use? No matter what part of life you're looking at, I can pretty much guarantee there's something already in your sphere, and it's worth taking a look at all over again. So today, I hope this was helpful. Whatever the challenge, what resources you have in your life that you're just not using and that you need to use, that you brought into your world for a reason. Like I said, whether that's people, it's books, it's programs, it's any of the other things, what do you already have that's yeah, I need to use this. I did this for a reason. I connected to this person or this thing, brought this into my world for a reason. What can you use right now that you already have? I would love to hear all about your resources. If this has ever happened to you, or you're like, oh God, yeah, I forgot about that thing, or oh, I meant to ask that person. What are your stories about this? What resources do you have that you could better utilize, that might improve some of the outcomes that you are looking for right now? I hope this was a helpful reminder. And again, I would always love to hear what you think about this. And you can do that in the comments. You can always shoot me an email over on my website, CourtneyThomas.com, but let me know. Let me know all about your resources and how you're going to use them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.